Normally, when it comes to the daily cancellation, I need to expend some degree of effort researching and writing a script. I know that probably sounds difficult to believe, but it is true. People don't simply cancel themselves. I have to think to myself, how can I present this cancellation in a humorous or engaging way, given the facts on the ground? But today, there's a notable exception to this general rule. In this case, I really don't have to do anything to highlight the absurdity of today's topic, because all by itself, this is simply one of the most ludicrous, on-the-nose stories in recent memory. I'm talking, of course, about the museum heist that took place on Sunday at the Louvre in Paris, France. And it's one of the most, of course, famous museums in the entire world. Every detail of this story from start to finish feels like a punchline. I mean, it feels like a comedy. It feels like a movie, if they still made comedies. But it's not. You know, this is all real. So we'll start with the fact that this robbery took place in broad daylight while the museum was open during regular business hours. Watch.
Thieves burst into the Louvre in Paris, stealing crown jewels and prompting the world's most visited museum to be evacuated. Here's how the heist happened and why French authorities are in a race against time to recover the jewels. The robbery took place in the Galerie d'Apollon. At around 9:30 in the morning, 4 individuals drove motorcycles and a truck with a portable furniture elevator to the museum. They used the elevator to get up onto a balcony. They then cut through a window using what appeared to be angle grinders. Once inside the gallery, the thieves used the grinders to threaten guards and to cut into display cases containing Napoleonic and royal jewellery. The thieves tried, but failed, to set their truck on fire before fleeing on the motorcycles. They were in and out of the gallery in less than 7 minutes.
So yes, 30 minutes after the museum opened to visitors, the thieves drove up to the building in a furniture elevator called a Monte-Moubo, I don't know, is that how you pronounce it, in France. And then they used a glass cutter to break the window, which set off alarms, as you might expect. So this is the point where the heist should have been over. I mean, really, it should have been over as soon as a guard saw a random furniture elevator full of masked construction workers pulling up to the museum. But we'll give them a pass on that for some reason. We'll cut them some slack. The moment the alarm goes off with the criminals still outside the building, that should have been game over for a heist like this. But it wasn't game over. As you heard, the thieves proceeded to threaten the guards with their power tools. Okay, they wave their power tools around, and no, that's not a euphemism. I mean, like actual tools. And instantaneously, the French guards surrendered. They just waved the white flag on the spot, as the French always do. They actually left the premises, according to multiple reports. They saw a guy with a compact drill and like a screwdriver and measuring tape, and they just ran for the hills. And then the criminals were free to cut open the display cases with $1,300 cut-quick saws, as seen in this cell phone image, which you can see here. Now, admittedly, it's easy to mock this scenario, and we should. But to be fair, if you're a guard and your entire job, the reason for your paycheck is to defend priceless works of art from potential vandals, what are you going to do if you see something like this? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty scary stuff. I mean, obviously, there's no defense against an attack like that. What are you going to do? Use a gun? Shoot the guy? That'd just be ridiculous. I mean, using a weapon to stop bad guys from breaking the law? Who's ever heard of that? I mean, they've long since moved on from that kind of barbarism in France. You know, the barbarism of like law and order and civilization. No, you can't interfere with him in any way, or else you might put some holes in your drywall. Your only option is to just let them do whatever they want. Actually, there was one thing the guards apparently prevented. They supposedly stopped the thieves from setting fire to their furniture elevator on the way out the door. So, you know, that's something. But other than that, there was no reason to have guards at all. I mean, they might as well. The museum might as well have just been completely open to the public. No alarms, no security measures of any kind. And by the way, the criminals left the scene on scooters. Okay, they left on scooters. They might as well have just been riding away on big wheels. They might as well have been on rollerblades, just like casually skating down the street. How did the police not immediately chase them down? You're talking about a brazen robbery in one of the most famous locations in the entire country. It took several minutes. Alarms sounded. And not only did the guards fail to do anything, but the police also failed to do anything. So the criminals left behind a bunch of evidence, including a blowtorch, a yellow vest, a saw, and an imperial crown with more than 1,000 diamonds. So here is the saw, for instance, that they left behind, that they were lugging around. But still, there have been no arrests. So they've got video, a mountain of evidence, witnesses, and no one's been arrested. Cold weather will be here before you know it, and here's something most families don't think about. When the power goes out during a cold snap, there's no way to stay warm. The furnace stops running, electric heaters are useless, and suddenly everyone's left hoping power comes back on. In the severe cold, it's actually a dangerous situation. Most homes are completely dependent on the electrical grid for heat. When that grid fails, whether from winter storms, ice damage, or rolling blackouts, families are left vulnerable. That's where the Vesta off-grid space heater from My Patriot Supply comes in. It's a space heater that doesn't need electricity. It runs on canned heat, an indoor-safe fuel. Keep one tucked away in the closet, and there's reliable warmth available no matter what happens to the grid. Plus, it doubles as a stove for boiling water or cooking food during an outage. I think it's a staple to have for anyone who wants to be prepared and ensure that your family is taken care of when the weather is raging. Best part, right now, you can get a Vesta along with other free gifts when ordering the Winter Prep Special from My Patriot Supply. And now's the time to do it before the cold weather kicks in. It's worth having that peace of mind before the winter weather arrives. Just go to mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh to see everything that's included. This offer won't last long, and neither will this nice fall weather. So go to mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh today. That's mypatriotsupply.com/Walsh. At the time, as you might imagine, at the moment, as you might imagine, there are a lot of theories about whether this heist was an inside job or some kind of long con. Apparently, the localized alarm system wasn't operational at the time, and only the general museum alarm sounded. Additionally, there are reports that the museum changed the structure of its glass cases recently. They supposedly went from armored cases, which would drop the jewels into a safe if they were disturbed, to more accessible cases. Now, we'll put up those images on the screen so you can see the contrast. Now, you might ask, why would a museum intentionally make its treasures much easier to steal? Not to mention, the original cases were beautiful. So why did you make them uglier? So you made it uglier and easier to steal. That seems kind of odd. I mean, the very last thing that you would want priceless artifacts to be is accessible, you would think. But as it turns out, it was all part of a plan to counter the museum's elitist image. So this is from an article that was published 5 years ago. Okay, this is real, apparently. Quote, "The Louvre, the world's most visited museum, is working on a major overhaul of how its vast collections are presented and explained." Jean-Luc Martinez, the president of the Louvre, told reporters, to counter its elitist image, the museum will strive for a cultural democratization to make its treasures more accessible with improved presentation, labeling, and curating. Martinez, who comes from a working-class background, said he wanted to build on the outreach success of the Louvre's Outpost Museum in Lens, a poor former mining town in northern France. He said sometimes the former royal palace in the heart of Paris can intimidate certain demographics, and the museum needs to reassure people that its collections are also for them. Because this is always like, when they want to make things more accessible to supposedly like working class people, they just make it uglier. Because, why would working class people want something beautiful? We don't need to give beauty to them, those plebes. That's the attitude. And, mission accomplished. The Louvre certainly became more accessible to more demographics. Now any old working class Joe could just show up and steal whatever he wants. He doesn't even have to be an elite burglar like in Ocean's 11. Just anyone at all can apply for a job as a jewel thief. Now, as it happens, the same principle applies to the museum's security team, apparently. So last year, this woman became the Louvre's first ever female director of security. You can see her there. Her name is Dominique Buffin, and she's 46 years old. And really broke the glass ceiling here so that thieves could, walk in off the street and literally break the glass on the jewelry cases. Like I said, it's just like too easy with this story. As it happens, Buffin was hired by another woman named Laurence Descartes, who happens to be the museum's first female director. And she also looks exactly how you'd expect her to look. So yes, in 2021, Laurence became the Louvre's first female director in its 228-year history. And then, very quickly, she hired another woman to lead the security team in another historic breakthrough. This is not an accident. We see this all the time across a variety of positions, particularly the government and technology sector. Certain demographics look out for each other. They hire each other, and then everything falls apart. Remember, it was Jill Biden who recommended the nomination of Kimberly Cheadle, the Secret Service director who nearly got Trump killed. Cheadle claimed that sloped roofs are just too dangerous for the Secret Service as an excuse for why the Secret Service allowed a sniper with an AR-15 to climb onto the roof of a warehouse just 450 feet away from Donald Trump with a clear line of sight to the stage and then shoot him in the head. And once again, at the Louvre, we have yet another unambiguous triumph of feminism. Just 1 year after they picked a woman to lead the security at this famous museum, thieves stole millions of dollars worth of jewelry in broad daylight while the museum was open as the guards ran away. Who would have imagined that this could ever be possible? Well, it certainly would not have been possible to, say, put armed guards around the building or inside the building. That would have just been unthinkable. As unthinkable as like putting an agent on a sloped roof. To be clear, the media in France promoted this woman relentlessly prior to this heist, as you would expect. Quote, "Never before has a woman held this highly strategic position," wrote Le Monde, probably the most respected newspaper in the country. "She has been responsible for security at the museum and its surrounding areas. The Olympic Games provided her with accelerated training." So she's responsible for security at the Louvre as well as the surrounding areas, apparently. That's to make you feel comfortable if you're living nearby. It also probably reminds you of this story from a few months ago. Remember the Cincinnati police chief, a woman named Terry Thiege? She was the first woman to lead Cincinnati's police department in its history. She's also grossly incompetent and malicious. After a mob beat up several white people on camera, she decided that it was a good opportunity to berate people for sharing the footage of the assault. Wasn't upset about the violence. She was upset that people noticed the violence. Watch.
Social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you. Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. That is one version of what occurred.
Well, now we have a belated update to this story. The chief has effectively been fired. This is from a local news station. Quote, "Cincinnati Police Chief Terry Thiege has been placed on paid administrative leave," city officials confirmed. Cincinnati City Manager Cheryl Long states the move comes pending an internal investigation on the effectiveness of her leadership in the Cincinnati Police Department. The city continues to face serious public safety challenges that underscore the need for stability at the command level. Now, the good news for Chief Terry is that there's probably going to be a job opening at the Louvre pretty soon. But for the rest of us, for people who prefer to have safe cities and secure museums, probably a good time to give up on the idea of promoting women on the basis of their gender, because in every case, it ends in disaster. It doesn't take much. In Cincinnati, it took a few people with cell phones to cause the chief of police to melt down on camera. In Paris, it took a few thieves with power tools to clear out the most famous museum in the world. And in Butler, it took a sloped roof. I mean, the truth is you could put a Boy Scout troop in charge of security and public safety, and they would do a better job in all of these cases. And at the very least, they probably do something, although that's a very low bar. It's a bar that none of the women I've just mentioned has been able to clear. And that is why the first ever female director of security at the Louvre has many, many fewer jewels to guard today, which I guess just makes her job easier on the bright side. And it's also why, along with Cincinnati's first ever female police chief, she is today canceled. Thanks for checking out this video. If you'd like to listen to my full podcast on the go, you can check out The Matt Walsh Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.